Pro Group Management, workers' comp that works for you.
Welcome to Nevada Newsmakers. I'm Paul Enos, CEO of the Nevada Trucking Association, filling in for Sam Shad. Today, we're going to be talking about the state of journalism with Reno Gazette-Journal executive editor Brian Duggan. That is next on an all-new Nevada Newsmakers.
Pro Group Management is the place where companies can find workers' comp solutions that are designed to meet their specific business requirements. As regulations evolve, Pro Group takes a proactive approach to clear the path to make sure your business stays ahead of the curve. Knowing your workers' comp program is optimized, you can focus on other important matters related to your growing business. Pro Group Management, workers' comp that works for you.
Brian Culpa Photography was born in the rolling hills of Massachusetts, and now he can help you experience the stunning beauty of Nevada in a whole new way through the power of flight. Flying has always been a passion for Brian, and at Brian Culpa Photography, he can make your imagination soar. Brian has the creative mind and tools to tell your unique story. Experience the bird's eye view at brianculpaphotography.com.
What do you count on? You count on your power every day. At NV Energy, we've always powered what's important to you, but we're not looking at the past. We're focused on the future. While our standards are high, our rates will remain low. And our commitment to renewables isn't just meeting standards, but leading the way. Because you can count on more than just your power. You can count on the company who brings it to you. That's our promise. You can count on it.
Nevada Newsmakers Studio is located at the headquarters of the Nevada Trucking Association. Motion and purpose are a truck's greatest virtue.
This is Nevada Newsmakers with host Sam Shad, a no-holds-barred political forum. Now, from the Nevada Newsmakers broadcast headquarters, here is Sam Shad.
Welcome back to Nevada Newsmakers. We are here with the executive editor of the Reno Gazette-Journal, or RGJ, I think as a lot of us say, Brian Duggan. Brian, welcome. Thank you for coming to talk about the state of journalism, both nationally and on the local level.
Sure.
Hope we can get into a little of that.
All right.
So, let's talk about media trust.
Sure.
Right now, American public has very low trust in the media. What are you doing at the Gazette-Journal to try to stem some of that distrust that people have?
Yeah. Well, thanks, first of all, for having me on the show. It's been a minute, so it's always fun to come here and talk about journalism, right? And so, yeah, media trust is a question I get a lot, just even in my own conversations with friends and family. And it's certainly a problem that it's the entire gamut of media from national to local. I think a lot of it has to do with there's just so much media nowadays that everything is so fragmented that people can sort of find their own bubbles to more or less live in and be comfortable in. And so at the RGJ, we pride ourselves on doing local journalism and doing stories that matter to our community. And I had a boss way back when I was an intern that said good reporting demands respect.
Who was that?
It was Steve Tatro at Stevens Media Group over in Washington, D.C. I was writing for him for the RJ back in 2007. And what he meant by that was, doing good journalism, doing good, solid reporting, showing a new version of the truth about our community, something that people didn't previously know. I think that's what gets respect. And I got a good team of people at the RGJ. There's
Jason Hidalgo is one of my favorites that you have.
I've been working with Jason for 11 years.
I mean, I love his stories because they're always very straightforward, not a lot of, insidious language that I think sometimes gets inserted into journalism today.
I get that, and perception is reality, right? But at the end of the day, I'll take our reporting any day and show people that I'm very proud of it. That consistently win awards for it. We won Story of the Year last year at the Nevada Press Association, now Foundation Awards.
What was the story?
It was Siobhan McAndrew's story about a family who lost their matriarch to COVID, and how it was just telling their story about how they couldn't actually go up and see her in her final days. And And what Siobhan does when she's doing her journalism is she gets people to open up in ways that you would not expect. And that's really a true test of a journalist, is their ability to get people to tell you some really difficult things. And this family decided to tell their story and just how it played out for them. And some of her details of just how the family had to say goodbye and how the grandson, fought his way in that hospital to go say goodbye. And that's the kind of journalism that reflects our community. I mean, that's a real life example of something that happened to people here in Reno. So to me, that's what journalism is at its best, is when it shows who we are.
So I mean, there's also this line, right, where it's, hey, informing the public, but I think a lot of the criticism and the distrust that people have towards the media is where it seems to, instead of inform, it seems more activist. Mm-hmm. So do you think the Gazette-Journal has a political point of view, in terms of, how the paper is viewed, or kind of how you see, your role in the community?
Well, I mean, I've been accused of being both, liberal and conservative.
Who accused you of being a conservative?
People, trust me, I get it. I mean, it's kind of difficult to please everybody. That's impossible. And so whether or not we're a pro-developer or anti-developer, I think that's, and really it's not so much, I think, liberal or conservative as more of, people ask, are you biased? Or is journalism biased? And I often say, well, of course it's biased, because we all come from a certain perspective. I mean, it's biased for me to say, let's do that, to do this story and not that story. That is a fundamental decision that has to be made. What part of that story gets to the top? What part of that story gets to the bottom? What part of that story gets to the headline? That's all the decision that we have to make. And so it's all based on news value. And I take the criticism, it's fine. I understand that people may not like every single story, and some people may love every single story, but it's not, you're never gonna bet 1,000 with people. So,
I mean, is there an attempt to, though, kind of find a middle of the road? I mean, is there an attempt to, go for inform as opposed to the activism side?
Well, I think journalism at its core it's the pursuit of truth, right? It's the pursuit of reporting about our community and showing people something that matters, right? So, a good example recently, I mean, of course, COVID has obviously become very difficult to talk about in some circumstances. Sure. Unfortunately, it's a public health issue. Are we going to give equal time, like a both sides situation with the vaccine, for example? No, because the medical profession has said the vaccine works. This is a good thing. As a news organization, we will say, okay, it's not there. What is the point of adding additional information about why a vaccine is dangerous when that's based on misinformation or conspiracy theory, when you have the medical community by and large saying that this is a good thing.
They haven't always batted 1,000 though either, in terms of what the medical community said. And there's a lot of questions there, and I still have questions, about, hey, is natural immunity better than a vaccination? Do I need to get both? I mean, I've heard all my life, hey, if you already had the flu, you don't need a flu shot.
Yeah.
And so, it seems like there is less of kind of that, maybe it's an old way of thinking and more of a push. Everybody needs to do that. And, instead of going back to, hey, what I learned, I think, in junior high school, about viruses and vaccinations.
Sure.
Where, it seems like, when I look at that, I'm looking at it with a skeptical eye that I'm not sure that I see in the journalistic community anymore.
Well, I think a lot of it is based on misinformation, unfortunately, and I think we have to recognize the insidious nature of a lot of information that's flowing out there nowadays. And I think a lot of people have been, for better or for worse, I mean, it's sort of a meme now, like I do my own research, right? And, who am I to tell an epidemiologist or a medical doctor that they're wrong or that they are, right? And it's so... There is, I guess, that.
I don't know. I've had doctors,
aspect.
like I've told Sam this on the show. Hey, I never trust the advice from a doctor who's not in as good a shape as I am. So.
Yeah, sure. It's and so like, to kind of bring it back to the broader point here, it's that, there's clearly a segment of the population that just will tune us out, and I understand that. That's fine. And there's a segment of the population that will consistently rely on us too. And it all goes back to the fragmentation of media. I mean, that's fundamentally at its core, that's what we're dealing with.
So who are your readers? Do you think your readers, do they have the people that trust the Gazette-Journal? Are they of one political view over another?
I think it runs the gamut. It runs the gamut. Democrats, Republicans, conservative, liberal. I still get calls from, old politicians from both sides of the spectrum. And increasingly what's happened is, the RGJ is seen as a newspaper, but increasingly, really, a majority of our business is now digital. We have more digital subscribers than print subscribers now. That just happened within the last year.
Does that changes like how you write a headline or write a story?
Oh yeah. Because you have to think about journalism in the digital space, which is a very different game than the print space. And so, so much of our journalism now is. We do a lot of thinking about, well, what would newcomers to Reno want to read about? What kind of stories might interest them? Like, we just had our culture writer do a story about the newbie's guide to Reno. And people seem to really eat that up because it's someone who's informed about the community that they just moved to and they want to know more about it. So,
I was reading, and I read the paper every day. I start with the El Daily Free Press, right? Got to have my hometown paper that I still read. But, I do. I read the Gazette-Journal every day. And, I think, like I said, you have some great reporters, but then there's sometimes, like, I see a headline in a story and I go, okay, that's a little weird. That language is insidious. And there was one that was over this weekend about, one of those events that, it's about the West Elm store closing.
Oh, yeah.
And, that was a big deal when it opened up. It was the return of retail in downtown Reno in the old post office building. And then I read the headline this weekend. Downtown Reno's bougie furniture home decor store, West Elm, is closing. And I've never seen bougie as a compliment. I think that's like kind of a, more of an insult or detraction. So, how do you choose that word? Is that a product of the digital age?
Well, yeah. So the writer, Kristen, it's a.
Does she write the headline, or do you have a headline?
It's usually a kind of a back, but the editor's usually.
Okay. I just was like, bougie. That's kind of an odd thing about something that the story itself was fairly straightforward, but the headline to me, is that a product of the digital? What's happening in the digital age to try to get those clicks?
I would say it's less about the clicks and more about the. Bougie is a term that's used among
pretty negative.
The
term,
younger
right?
set. Oh, that's so bougie. Yeah, right.
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 Especially with the Marxists.
Yeah. I guess if you want to get political about it, I think it's probably done in jest in some way. At some level, it's lighthearted in terms of the way bougie was used in that particular circumstance. I wasn't part of that debate, but I think looking back on that story, a couple of days from here, I think what it's getting at that internet language. People might say, oh, West Elm is kind of the bougie furniture store, and I think that's recognizable to a reader of a certain age, probably. And that is
I had to look it up to make sure I understood it as I did.
I don't think it was a commentary on the proletariat or something like that. I think it was more about a commentary on just how people think about a particular brand. So West Elm has a sort of a brand to it, right? So. That's probably where that word came from. I don't think it's anything more than that, though. There's nothing.
It just kind of like caught me off guard a little bit. It's like, okay, that's kind of an interesting choice of word, and hey, you feel bad for, of course, the people who work at the store, the businesses, around it, where you don't have that anchor necessarily that could be affected. And like I said, I think the story was good, but I just kind of saw bougie and went, okay, that's kind of that insidious language sometimes that gets, into the media, which I do think, when I'm reading something, that might contribute a little bit to folks, either trust or distrust of what they read.
No, of course. And like I said, it's hard to bat 1,000 with people. So, certainly I'll take the criticism into mind, okay?
All right. Good. No, hey, I'm happy to do that. All right. We're going to be right back with the executive editor of the Reno Gazette-Journal, Brian Duggan, after these messages.
Hi, I'm Renee Summerhour, digital news anchor here at 7 at 7. Watch our streaming nonstop newscast immediately with your mobile phone. 7 at 7 is the new way for you to get every bit of local news you need in just 7 minutes. Breaking news, local neighborhood news, weather, and sports are just a click away. Reporters bring you all of what's happening in the Valley. From Roku, Amazon Fire, Apple TV, YouTube, and more. Get every bit of local news you need from the RJ and LVRJ.com.
Each day, the Children's Advocacy Alliance partners with leaders, legislators, and families across Nevada to improve children's health, education, economic well-being, and safety. We recognize Nevada will be no better than the state of its children. Be a part of this change. Be a supporter of the Children's Advocacy Alliance. For more information, go to caanv.org.
I'm here at the Carson Valley Inn in Minden with Joey Whitaker. One of the things I love about the Carson Valley Inn here in beautiful downtown Minden is CB steak. I have eaten here so many times. Tell folks what they can expect when they come here to eat.
It's a beautiful room, great service. We have certified Angus beef, seafood, lamb, a great range of appetizers, and wonderful desserts. Jean-Michel's done a great job of selecting some beautiful wines for us. The customers love it, and we've got a great selection of cocktails as well. It's not a long way to get away to the Carson Valley Inn.
Modern boutique Ahern Hotel and Events Center in Las Vegas. Host meetings and events on 2 floors. Stay in luxurious rooms and suites. Unlimited branding opportunities. Regional Italian cuisine by Chef Mark Segrisi. Flexible event spaces. Full buyout options. Visit ahernhotel.com today.
This is Nevada Newsmakers.
Welcome back to Nevada Newsmakers. We are back with the executive editor of the Reno Gazette-Journal. I'm going to try to say that a little slower. Reno Gazette-Journal, Brian Duggan. I'm always told I speak too fast sometimes, so try to slow it down a little bit.
I think you're doing great.
So let's talk about competition in the digital world, because there are quite a few newspapers that, or I guess maybe not newspapers anymore. That's probably an old-fashioned term. But we have the Indy, we have, this is Reno, we have the Nevada Globe, kind of these things that are, popping up for new information. When you're thinking about stories, are you thinking about what those other folks are doing, or are you guys, thinking, hey, this is what we cover and what we do well?
I honestly, it's been good to see more voices come into Nevada. So I think it's a net positive ultimately to see more journalism in Nevada. We're already so small that it's good to see a resurgence of some of that. It's good to see the This is Reno, the Nevada Independent, the Nevada Current down in Vegas too, and there's a slew of others around the state that are doing journalism that wasn't previously being done. And
does that impact what you do or the stories that you cover?
Well, I mean, of course we're aware of what our competition does. I mean, they're going to do stories that we're not going to get to. They're going to have certain, stories that, it's from our perspective, that's like, well, that's good that got covered. The India especially is very on top of the state government coverage. We have one dude who covers that plus all the election stuff plus more. So in terms of finding our niche, as a digital news organization, we know that our bread and butter at the end of the day is covering this city and covering its government, it's covering its culture, its sports, its food, covering business.
What's the most popular? What are the most popular things? You can track that now, right?
Oh yeah. I mean, the most readers want to. I mean, clearly, whenever there's big breaking news, like a wildfire is encroaching on Collin Ranch or something like that, but generally speaking, I mean, people want to read about the school district. They want to read about, big weighty issues facing the county commission. They want to read about, also, I mean, lighter stuff. They want to read about food in their town, like what's new. I mean, what's fun to do. They want to read when something notable closes. Housing. I mean, housing stories really always gain a pretty sizable audience for us because it's such a big issue. I mean, it's sort of like the obvious stuff, the stuff that you and your friends probably talk about, you and your family talk about. That's what people want to read about. So our job as a local newspaper, news organization, is to meet them there. I mean, meet them where the conversation is at locally. And so that only happens if you have a staff of people who live here, who understand it, who are living this experience. I mean, I have a kid in the school district. We just recently purchased a home. And my staff is going through that experience as well. And we try to bring that lived experience to our journalism to say, hey, we also understand the pressures and the problems facing this city as well. So.
Where do you think you guys could do better? Is there a place where you feel like, hey, we do well over here, but where do you think you could do better?
It's so much of our job in the last, since I took this role about 3 years ago plus, it's been how do we reset? When I got to the RGJ 10 years ago, we had 50 people in the newsroom, and that was already down from 110 people, 7 years prior. So today we have 19 people. So my job has been, well, how do we divvy up those resources in the most efficient way possible that is going to do the best possible journalism, right? And so, we, like any other business right now, have faced turnover. We faced, our share of the COVID pandemic pain too. So resetting first and recognizing, well, what kind of journalism are we not doing enough? A big gap that we had was local government coverage, and the solution was to go the nonprofit route, and we started the RGJ Fund. And so hiring back Mark Robison as our local government writer, he used to be an editor with us up until about 2017, and he came back from the nonprofit world to cover local government. We need to do more of that. That is what we need to do better. We just need to provide more. And Gannett, our parent company, is now the largest newspaper publisher in the country. As far as I can tell, we are a static newsroom. We're not going to get smaller, but we're not going to get bigger. So the only way to actually add more journalism back is to go find the money myself, and to go fundraise, and to go tell the public why supporting journalism directly is important. And that's, I think, a big message that's been lost in this current generation, that I'll talk to print subscribers who have been with us for 50 years. And the print newspaper itself, that platform is in decline. It is in its twilight years right now. And what's new is the digital future of local journalism. Telling someone who's 30 to subscribe and pay for journalism is a tough sell, because they have not grown up with that kind of environment. So, coming to someone and say, hey, subscribe to my news organization, it will help us do X, Y, and Z. I can now also say, hey, you can also donate to this fund. It will help directly pay for local government coverage, and 100% of those donations pays for Mark's salary, and hopefully one day a second journalist's salary as well.
All right, we are going to be right back with the editor-in-chief of the Reno Gazette-Journal, Brian Duggan.
Hi, I'm Renee Summerhour, digital news anchor here at 7 at 7. Watch our streaming nonstop newscast immediately with your mobile phone. 7 at 7 is the new way for you to get every bit of local news you need in just 7 minutes. Breaking news, local neighborhood news, weather, and sports are just a click away. Reporters bring you all of what's happening in the Valley. From Roku, Amazon Fire, Apple TV, YouTube, and more. Get every bit of local news you need from the RJ and LVRJ.com.
Each day, the Children's Advocacy Alliance partners with leaders, legislators, and families across Nevada to improve children's health, education, economic well-being, and safety. We recognize Nevada will be no better than the state of its children. Be a part of this change. Be a supporter of the Children's Advocacy Alliance. For more information, go to caanv.org.
I'm here at the Carson Valley Inn in Minden with Joey Whitaker. One of the things I love about the Carson Valley Inn here in beautiful downtown Minden is CV steak. I have eaten here so many times. Tell folks what they can expect when they come here to eat.
It's a beautiful room, great service. We have certified Angus beef, seafood, lamb, a great range of appetizers, and wonderful desserts. Jean-Michel's done a great job of selecting some beautiful wines for us. The customers love it, and we've got a great selection of cocktails as well. It's not a long way to get away to the Carson Valley Inn.
Modern boutique Ahern Hotel and Events Center in Las Vegas. Host meetings and events on 2 floors. Stay in luxurious rooms and suites. Unlimited branding opportunities. Regional Italian cuisine by Chef Mark Segrisi. Flexible event spaces. Full buyout options. Visit ahernhotel.com today.
This is Nevada Newsmakers.
Welcome back to Nevada Newsmakers with Executive Editor of the Reno Gazette-Journal, Brian Duggan. So, Brian, who are the people who donate to the fund? Is it big foundations? Is it normal people? I mean, where are you getting the lion's share of your money? And do you disclose that?
Yes. So it's just started. So we're working on that disclosure part. Our biggest donation came from the John Ben Snow Memorial Trust. It's a legacy trust that stems from the old Rolling Melton days, our old publisher. His daughter is on that board, Emily Williams, and she encouraged us to apply.
Emily.
Yeah, Emily's good people, and believes in the mission of local journalism. So we got our seed grant from them, and we've in the meantime received about $5,000 in individual donations. We're currently working on other foundation grants. We've started a advisory panel to get some just local advice. So a lot of my job now is just pitching and why it's important to pay for local journalism, including donate to it. So.
All right. Well, hey, that is where we have to leave it. Mr. Duggan, thank you so much.
Thank you.
We'll be right back on Nevada Newsmakers.
Early in the morning or throughout the night, professional truck drivers are on the job, serving you, safely moving freight that's crucial to our economy. From the oldest industries to our newest innovators, from the exotic to the everyday, trucks are everywhere, moving everything. Never afraid to embrace a future that makes Nevada and our nation stronger. Trucking moves America forward.
Take a look at Pro Group Management and see how your workers' comp requirements can be met head-on. By taking a proactive approach, Pro Group can assure that your company is meeting or exceeding state and federal standards. As you move forward in your industry, Pro Group moves with you, simplifying regulatory tasks, clearing the way so you can get the job done and look to your future success. Pro Group Management, workers' comp that works for you.
Retail's impact on Nevada's economy? Enormous. 8,600 businesses, large and small, employing 145,000 workers. And last fiscal year, retail paid tax on nearly $60 billion in sales. We're the Retail Association of Nevada. We support retail, we help it grow, and we mean business.
RANNV.org.
As you know, Reno is booming. Toll's development company is helping it grow with insightful design and development, building community with every project, adding beauty, adding excitement, emphasizing our shared humanity. Reno is becoming bigger. Toll's development is helping it become better, more livable, more enjoyable. To learn more, go to tollsdevelopment.com. tollsdevelopment.com.
As always, you can watch Nevada Newsmakers 24 hours a day at nevadanewsmakers.com. You can also check our archive going back to 2005 on our website. Again, nevadanewsmakers.com. We'll see you on the next show.